A very good morning to all. In the last class, we started with the chapter water and we learned about the different sources from which we get water. And today, we are going to learn about another topic that is about water cycle. So what is this water cycle? So we all like rain, right? So do you know how the rain is formed? So first, let's discuss that. So we know that the sun produces heat, and because of this heat, the water that is present in rivers, lakes, ocean, seas, that changes into water vapor. And that process, we call it as evaporation. The process by which the water is changed into water vapor. That is called evaporation. The water vapor mixes with the air and it rises upwards. And when it reaches a certain height, it cools and it changes into water droplets. When it reaches certain height, what happens? It cools and it changes into water droplets. And this drops of water forms clouds. So this is how clouds are formed. So the water droplets in the clouds become bigger drops. When they become bigger and heavier, they fall into the ground as rain. And this rainwater flows into rivers, ocean, lake, and this process again continues. So this is a continuous process that happens in the nature, and that is called as the water cycle. So the continuous process of formation of water into water vapor, which we call it as evaporation, cooling of water vapor to form clouds. So when water vapor reaches a certain height, it cools, changes into water droplets, and these water droplets form clouds. Falling of rain from clouds. So when these water droplets in the clouds become bigger drops, they become heavier and they fall to the ground as rain. And this process continues in the nature. And that process, we call it as water cycle. So what about snowfall? Have you seen snowfall? In some places, there is snowfall. So when the weather is cold, these water droplets changes into snowflakes, and that causes snowfall. In page number 101, it is given, water vapor forms all the time when the weather becomes very cold. In page number 101, there is a box. Water vapor forms all the time even when the weather becomes very cold. Moving to page number 102, it is given, several places in India face severe water shortage during the summer months. We know that summer season, it is very hot and we face water shortage during this period. Many people collect rainwater in underground tanks and use it, and that we call it as rainwater harvesting. Then there's a box given, life skills. Remember, rainwater is pure water. It can be collected, stored and used for many household purposes. So it can be used for many household purposes like washing vessels, etc. Coming to the next, that is about keywords. Evaporation. So what is evaporation? It is the process by which water is changed into water vapor. Then, water vapor. What is water vapor? It is the gaseous form of water. Then you can see a box given there, remember. That is about water cycle. So first you can see heat from the sun evaporates the water which is present in rivers, oceans, lakes, etc. Then what happened? It changes into water vapor. This water vapor rises upwards. Then it becomes cool. It changes into water droplets and become clouds. then what happens? When these water droplets become bigger drops, as they become heavier, they fall to the ground as rain. And this rain again flows into pond, well, rivers, ocean, etc. And this process continues. This process continues in the nature, and that is called the water cycle. So that is all about the chapter water. In this chapter, we learnt about the sources of water, the different sources from which we get water. Then we learnt about water cycle. Now, let's move to the exercise of this chapter. Starting with the first one, you can take page number 103 in your textbook. Take the correct options. Streams formed by rain flow into. There are options given. Wells only, ponds, rivers and lakes, seas, tube wells. See the second one. Rainwater that remains on land flows into a river, seeps into the ground, flows into a sea, forms snowflakes. See the third one. Heat helps water to change into vapor, smoke, oxygen, streams. The fourth one. If a river overflows, it can cause droughts, storms, thunder, floods. Fifth one. Water vapor present in the air rises upwards and forms smoke, clouds, dust, wind. So, now let's see the answers. So, what is the answer for the first one? Streams formed by rain flow into. It flows into ponds, rivers and lakes. What about the second one? Rainwater that remains on land. What happens? It seeps into the ground. What about the third one? Heat helps water to change into. It changes into water vapor. It changes into vapor. So the answer is vapor. Fourth one. If a river overflows, it can cause. What happens if the river overflows? It can cause flood. So the answer is floods. Fifth one. Water vapor present in the air rises upwards and forms, what is the answer? It forms clouds. So now let's move to the second exercise. So what you need to do is, you have to explain this water cycle. You can see the diagram in 103 and you have to complete this. So let's see. So first, that is the sun. The sun heats the water bodies such as ocean, rivers, lakes. Then water changes into water that is present in the water bodies, changes into water vapor. Then what happens? This water vapor rises upwards. Then what happens? When it reaches certain height, it cools. Then it changes into water droplets, and these water droplets form clouds. After that, the water droplets in the clouds become bigger drops. The droplets become large. Then it falls into the ground as rain. Then this rainwater again flows into water bodies such as ponds, rivers, lakes, etc. And this process is continuing in the nature. And that is the water cycle. This process continues in the nature, and that is called the water cycle. Moving to the third one, answer the following questions. So let's start with the first one. During which season do ponds and lakes get a fresh supply of water? So, during which season? It is during the rainy season. During rainy season, ponds and lakes get a fresh supply of water. Moving to the second one. Where does water from most rivers go? Water from most rivers go to the sea. It flows into the sea. Moving to the third one, define evaporation. The process that changes water into water vapor is called evaporation. So the process by which water is changed into water vapor, that process we call it as evaporation. The fourth one, what changes water into vapor? Sun's heat helps water to change into vapor. Due to the heat from the sun, water changes into vapor. Moving to the fourth exercise, answer the following questions. You can write it down in your notebook. Okay, so let's see the first question. What happens to the rainwater? Some rainwater soaks into the soil and slowly seeps deep into the ground and form wells. Then, some rainwater flows on the surface, forming small streams which carry rainwater into ponds, rivers and lakes. Then, the second one, explain water cycle. Heat from the sun and wind helps water turn into water vapor. So, water changes into water vapor. That process we call it as evaporation. The water vapor mixes with the air and rises upwards. So, it mixes with the air and it rises upwards. Then, when water vapor reaches a certain height, what happens? It cools and it changes into tiny water droplets. Then, these tiny drops of water forms clouds. When the clouds become large and heavy, they fall towards the ground as rain. So, when the droplets become large and heavy, they fall to the ground as rain. This continuous natural process is called the water cycle. So, this process continues in the nature, and this natural process we call it as water cycle. Moving to the third one, how are clouds formed? Heat from the sun and wind helps water turn into water vapor. So, we know that water changes into water vapor because of heat of the sun and wind. Then what happens? The water vapor mixes with the air and rises upwards. So, it rises upwards. When water vapor reaches a certain height, it cools and changes into tiny water droplets. When it reaches a certain height, it cools, it changes into water droplets, and these tiny water droplets form clouds. These tiny drops of water form clouds. So, this is how clouds are formed. Moving to the next one, higher order thinking skills. So, let's read these questions and answer. The first one, why do ponds dry up in summer? So, we know that summer it is very, very hot. So, the question here is, why do ponds dry up in summer? So, see the answer. All the water from the ponds get evaporated in summer. Evaporated means the water changes into vapor. So, during the summer time, all the water that is present in the ponds get evaporated in summer. What about the second one? Why does the level of water in wells increase after it rains? So, see the answer. Well gets water during the rainy season. So, during the rainy time or during the rainy season, the level of water gets increased in the wells. Moving to the third one, why do puddles dry faster on a warm, windy day? The wind helps in evaporation of water. So, you all know what is evaporation. Changing into the process of changing water into water vapor. Moving to the next one, value-based question. So, you have 7 questions given here. What you need to do here is, you have to draw a happy smiley if the action saves water, and you need to draw an angry smiley if it wastes water. So you can just think and you can just answer it. So I'll read out and you can put the right smiley. First one. I brush my teeth with the tap open. Just think and you can do the right answer. The second one. I brush my teeth using a mug of water. The third one. I use only a bucket full of water to have a bath. The next one. I bathe for half an hour under a shower. The next one. I turn off the tap while soaping my hands. I wash my bicycle using a pipe. The seventh one. I wash my bicycle using a bucket of water. You can just think over these questions and you can put the right smiley. The next one is the activity zone. Here you can see different pictures. So just look at these pictures very carefully. Then what you need to do here is, you have to say what are the water saving steps taken by this family. So let's discuss one by one. So what is the first picture? Here the water is stored. It is a water saving step taken by this person. The water is stored in the vessel. The rainwater is stored in the vessel. What about the second one? You can see a little boy washing the vessels. Right. So, he is washing vessels in the stored water, not in the running water. So, he is saving water. What about the next picture? Here you can see this girl is fixing the leakage of the pipe. By this, we are saving water. Fourth one. You can see this kid is washing fruits. She is washing the fruits in the vessels. She is washing the fruits in the stored water, not in the running water. What about the fifth one? Here, the shower is closed and this little boy is taking bath with bucket of water. What about the seventh one? Here, the tap is closed while brushing teeth. By this, we are saving water. So, what about the seventh one? Here, instead of using a hose pipe for cleaning the vehicles, they are using mug of water for washing it. What about the eighth one? They are watering the plants. So, here, they are watering the plants using mug of water. So, here, these are different ways in which these families are saving water. Coming to the next one, project work. We all know many rivers flows across India. The major rivers are shown as blue dots in the map. So if you closely observe this map, you can see the major rivers that is flowing. What you need to do here is, you have to name the rivers that flows in your state. Your activity is, you have to name the rivers that flows in your state and in any other 3 states. You can select other 3 states and you have to mention, you have to name the rivers that flows in other 3 states and in your state. So this is an activity for you. You can do this. Once you are done, you can submit to Microsoft Teams. So we are done with this chapter, chapter 10, water. So we learned about water, which is very, very important for the survival of all living things. Then we learned about the different sources from which we get water. Then we learned about the water cycle, the continuous process that happens in the nature, that is called the water cycle. So, we'll end this class today. We'll meet in the next class and start with a new chapter. Till then, thank you.